We are back. Welcome to Season 2 of The Range. For those of you that are new here, this is a show about the people pushing golf forward. From product founders to media makers, community builders to culture shapers, we're exploring the edges of the game and the stories behind them. Season 1 introduced you to entrepreneurs launching golf brands. Season 2 widens the lens. We're talking to creators, connectors, and leaders who are reshaping what golf looks like on and off the course. I'm excited you're here. Let's get into it. In episode 1 of season 2, I sit down with Brian Laurent, the connector behind the Superintendent Network. I discover how Brian's lifelong connection to golf and his father's legacy inspired him to create a platform that educates, promotes, and connects the superintendent community. From its humble beginnings in Ohio to a national launch in 2022, the Superintendent Network has become a beacon for sharing the untold stories of golf course superintendents. Join us as we explore Brian's journey, the challenges of entrepreneurship, and the passion that drives him to spotlight the unsung heroes of the golf world. Enjoy the episode and welcome to Season 2. Welcome to The Range, the podcast where we explore the intersection of passion and business in the world of golf. I'm your host, Ari Ratner, and each episode will dive into the stories of the innovators, entrepreneurs, and trailblazers who are transforming the game we love into thriving businesses. Whether you're a golf enthusiast, an inspiring entrepreneur, or just curious about the business behind the sport, you're in the right place. So grab your clubs and join us on The Range as we tee off into the world of golf entrepreneurship. Welcome back to Season 2 of The Range. I'm joined here with Brian Laurent, who is the creator and founder of Superintendent Network. Brian, appreciate you jumping on and being the episode 1 of Season 2 here.
Wow, well, that's an honor. Appreciate you having me on. Appreciate you reaching out and looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Amongst other reasons why I'm very much looking forward to this conversation, Brian also happens to be a Buckeye. And for those of you who know me, know that I'm a passionate Buckeye. He also, strangely enough, lived in the same dorm as I did our freshman year. So one has to assume that our paths crossed at least once. And then we do have a mutual friend, Mike Austin, who I believe Brian played with at Ohio State. And I did not play golf in college, for those that know my game, but Mike and I shared many nights talking about the sport while doing some other things. But anyway, this is not about Mike Austin.
I can't imagine what that was.
This is not about Mike Austin. Brian, would love for you to just give a quick intro into the network itself, and then we'll just jump in and talk about your journey to get there.
Sure. The Superintendent Network is something that I created. You know, we can dig into the roots of it, but ultimately launched it nationally in 2022. Our mission is to educate, promote, inspire, and connect the superintendent community. And we do that through videos. So I travel the country and have another team of creators kind of around different regions in the U.S. And we tell stories about golf course superintendents and what it takes to prepare these fields of play for everybody that enjoys the game.
That's awesome. And I think before we jump into the creation of the community and just your interest from a media perspective, let's give the audience a sense of your connection to the sport. When did you start playing the game? No, there's a unique connection to the superintendent side, and would love to dig in on that as well. But let's just focus on your connection to the game itself.
I've been around golf and the golf course superintendent community for as long as I can remember. My father is a retired golf course superintendent, traveled around the country with him following his jobs, was very fortunate to even be a part of when it all started for him. He went back to Penn State's 2-year program when I was 4 years old. You know, he decided later in life that he wanted to chase this career path. And so I remember going to visit my father when he was in college. My brother, my mom, and I would go over, and I trick-or-treated in his dorms when I was a little kid. So got to see him kind of chase his passion firsthand, and I think that certainly has inspired me to chase my own passions. But yeah, just grew up around the game, lived on a golf course literally since I was 6 years old. We lived at Wilmington Country Club, his first job out of college, lived at Harbortown, which is St. Michael's, Maryland, and then Saucon Valley from 3rd grade until I moved out of the house and went to college. So literally my entire life has been spent on a golf course. So certainly have been close to that industry and the people of the industry my entire life.
So it's awesome I'm quite jealous. I grew up on a golf course as well, but I was not as connected to the sport, unfortunately. But starting to get connected now. It's never too late.
Dad liked it. So as a, snot-nosed kid, I didn't think it was very cool. So, I didn't really take it seriously till I was a teenager or so.
Yeah.
But certainly kicked myself with the opportunities I had in my own backyard to improve myself and dig into the game.
It's funny that you bring up, your dad's connection to the game, and you're, I guess, not as interested when you were younger. My dad played until he was 19, then got into becoming a professional, retired. And then the bug hit him. He has 5 hole-in-ones. He's a 8 or 9 handicap. And, it's of course he picks up the game when I'm out of the house. But we're able to play now, and those memories I'll never forget. Talk a little bit about kind of when you were younger playing with your dad versus now as you've built a community that kind of celebrates the profession he was in.
Man, it's really cool. As a kid, it was a lot of fun. He never pushed me to get into golf. I was a basketball player, and in high school, I ended up breaking my back when I was playing a game and was told not to play contact sports anymore. And so being competitive, needed to figure out another outlet for that competitive nature. And had all the access in the world to golf. So I took up the game pretty seriously, and that really changed things with the family golf dynamic, at least. Spent a lot of time on the range. Where we lived, we had a couple 3-hole loops where we could just go out when Dad got home at 6 o'clock in the evening, and we'd go play 3 holes, come back, have dinner, and maybe go back and do it all again. So a lot of great memories playing with him. We used to always have we called it the Laurent Family Open. My brother was a pretty good player as well. My dad is a very accomplished player. So it was a lot of fun. We'd compete all the time. And then, now it's great because I'm in the community, and we have a little fun competition between the two of us when we go to our national conference every year.
Yeah.
To figure out who knows the most people. It's kind of fun, come full circle. A lot of the guys that I got to know through my father and going to all these conferences when I was a little kid, I do work with now.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's been great. I've had them as features for the videos that I put out, way back in the day when I was kind of getting started on some of the media stuff. Would invite them to write some articles for me. When I was running conferences, I'd invite a lot of his peers to come speak at conferences that I was running. Had my dad speak at a couple conferences that I ran. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's fun. I think he's proud of me. So it's nice to everyone wants their father to be proud of them and their accomplishments.
Yeah.
So it's neat to see him beaming with pride, and it's nice to introduce him to new people. It's nice to take him to tournaments. I had the opportunity couple of years ago. Ben Hogan is his idol, was his idol growing up. So when I was doing a project down at Colonial, it was a privilege to be able to take him down to Colonial and show him around, Hogan's old stomping grounds.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are some really neat full circle moments that have been really enjoyable. We don't get to play as much golf anymore. He's the bionic man. He's had about every joint in his body replaced, so he doesn't get to play as much. We don't get to play as much. I'm on the road and gone all the time, it seems like. But it's definitely special when we have that opportunity to get out and play and just go and see places together. I don't play as much golf as I'd like to, obviously, but I get to go to a lot of great golf courses, and quite frankly, it's more fun doing that because I leave those places with good memories instead of going out and firing a big number and being pissed off about it.
But let's be honest, your big number is different than my big number, I imagine.
It's all relative, right?
It is.
Expectations might be different.
It is all relative. Is your dad still working the business, or is he retired?
He's fully retired now.
Awesome.
So he left Saucon Valley early 2000s, and talking full circle, it was a full circle moment for him. He grew up working at a golf course literally a block away from where he grew up. And he had the opportunity then, once I graduated and was out of the house, he had the opportunity to actually buy that golf course. So
wow.
Yeah, so he bought the golf course that he grew up on, that he, learned the industry, learned the business in. And then I had a chance to kind of help him when he bought that. I worked for him for 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of running the inside operation. while he took care of the outside. And then I moved on from there, moved back to Columbus and all that. So yeah, no, he did that for a long time, helped another little golf course near the lake house where mom and dad currently live.
Mm-hmm.
Just as of a couple years ago, he fully retired and is enjoying doing woodworking and singing karaoke and all the other fun things that he likes to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have to assume it may not be a conscious decision, but your work today is honoring him in some way in the day to day. Is that accurate?
100% accurate. 100% accurate. My parents are my biggest inspiration. They have given me and my brother opportunities that have just been, that I'm incredibly grateful for. We've been able to travel. We've been able to go to amazing places. My family is incredible. They mean the world to me. And, like I mentioned earlier, the ability to see my father chase his dreams, everything that this industry has done for him. It's certainly the biggest influence in what I'm doing now. I've done a couple videos about my father.
Mm-hmm.
Had him on the podcast, and that's the greatest thing about having your own business and being able to tell stories is you can tell stories about whoever you want to do.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So it was nice. And, and it's not just because he's my father. He was an influential character, an influential person within the industry. Saucon Valley, where he was at for a very long time, hosted multiple majors. He hosted 2 senior opens when he was there. It was top 100 for a very long time. Like when we were there,
mm-hmm.
I think it still might be. I don't know, but he was highly respected in his industry. So yeah, absolutely, certainly influential in me doing what I'm doing now.
That's awesome, and it certainly seems like you're carrying the torch quite well. As we think about your experience from leaving Ohio State around 2002, launching the network in 2022, what were those 20 years like that led you to creating the Superintendent Network and that becoming, your full-time gig?
It was a lot of trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up.
Yeah.
I enrolled at Ohio State in the landscape architecture program. I wanted to be a golf course architect. And before I even set foot on campus day one, I changed my major. I wanted to walk on to the golf team. And after doing my orientation for the landscape architecture program, I realized how involved that program was, how much math was involved in it. Primarily, math is not my favorite things.
Yeah.
So I quickly changed majors and got a communication degree. And that, kind of freed up my schedule to be able to play golf and do all the other extracurricular things that people do at school. So really didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to stay in golf as an assistant golf professional out of college. Did that for a couple of years, bounced around to a couple different sales jobs, helped my father when he bought his golf course.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, just really was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was a terrible salesman. I'm still a terrible salesman, but eventually fell into association management within the turf industry. Helped manage our state's turf foundation here in Ohio for over a decade, managed several of our superintendent chapters in the state, and just found my niche, and, just by pure luck and coincidence and quite frankly, relationships, found my way into managing associations in the turf industry, and it felt like home.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, so at what point did you start to germinate the idea of creating this network and servicing the community that you grew up with?
Yeah, so having a large membership, just started using video to communicate with members. It started really just sitting down with the turf pathologists and the other turf professors at Ohio State and recording short videos to talk about what's happening at that time. It was sitting down with them and recording short videos talking about the weather conditions, what diseases they're seeing, what people should expect in the next couple of weeks based on weather forecasts, things like that. And just putting those short videos out to communicate with our association membership. That's how this all really got started. And everything's evolved from there. Kind of think about all the meetings that I had with education committees and conference planning sessions. And it was always, well, we want to hear from our peers. We want to know what our peers are doing. And so when the time kind of came for some contract negotiations to figure out if I was going to stay on board with the association, just ultimately came to where I needed X, they could offer Z, and it didn't quite match up. It's like, all right, well, now what am I going to do? Just said, well, people want to hear from their peers. And so that evolved into what started as the Ohio Superintendent Network, where I just kind of told video stories about superintendents in Ohio. And then, certain things happened and had to go nationally. And that's the simple evolution of the Superintendent Network.
Now, how did you push out that content in Ohio to start, right? Like, did you have a mailing list? Did you, not mailing list, a list?
Yeah, an email list.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was already managing a couple of superintendent chapters. So the way the GCSAA works, which is the National Association for Golf Course Superintendents, people in that community, the way that all works is they have their national association and then they have chapters underneath them. I think they have something like 105 chapters or something now. So I was already managing a couple of those in Ohio. So I already had a built-in audience, had a large following on social media. And so I would distribute everything via the email databases that I had through my membership. I would actually use some of those associations to distribute some of the content that I was putting out. But ultimately, I think social media really became the main vehicle to push those out. And that's really where it took off. With digital media the way it is, just because I was creating content about people in Ohio, it was being consumed by people all over the world.
Yeah.
And so that's really where where I saw the most traction was on social media, primarily on Twitter, now X. The existing superintendent base on Twitter was huge. And so it really took off by posting stuff on that platform.
Yeah. I think also the evolution of technology has allowed for these niche communities to have a bigger voice, right? And I think, I came across the Superintendent Network, I believe on LinkedIn, probably something related to grass clippings, which was a guest that Pete Wilson we featured in season 1. And it's just that celebration of a niche community that if you're creating and producing great content, people outside the community are going to want to digest it, right? And so I think, it'd be interesting to hear from you in how you think about content creation. And you're obviously creating it for a specific audience, but is there a sense of creating it for a larger group that wants to consume information about a smaller community?
Yeah, ultimately, the content is solely focused on golf course superintendents. It's my primary audience, but I think the side benefit of it is that through these digital platforms where general golfers are consuming golf content at an unprecedented rate, there's everyone and their brother's got some sort of Instagram page about golf or whatever it is. That's the goal, is to not only educate my niche audience, but to also educate the general golfer on what it takes to actually prepare a golf course. So people show up for a 7:30 tee time and the golf course isn't just ready for you. It takes a team of men and women to go out and prepare that golf course. So being able to show what happens behind the scenes, that it's not just a group of people going out to cut grass. It's highly educated, skilled people doing everything from chemistry to accounting, going out to prepare the golf course to the best of their ability with the resources at hand to let these people go out and have fun. So, we try to tell a lot of stories. It's what we focus on. It's not what they spray, why they spray, when they spray. It's leadership, it's management, it's personal stories to really connect that community, because the superintendent profession is really close knit. I'd say in the general public, it's 6 degrees of separation. In the superintendent community, it's maybe 1.5. It's a very tight knit community. So just being able to connect people and get people to understand the why behind people are doing certain, why they are in this industry, the pride they take in their facilities, the pride they take in their people, being able to share those stories. And again, like we were just talking about, being able to share that with the golfing public is really what I try to do. And
yeah,
it's taken off. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And speaking to kind of the growth of the network and what you're doing, when you set out to launch nationally in 22, what were those original goals? What did you want the network to accomplish? And then, sitting here a few years later, where are you in that path? And then how have those goals shifted as you've started to build, a real strong network?
My primary goal is to be able to pay my bills. That was it. That's really all it was. I'm an act first, think later kind of person, which can sometimes be a pain. So I didn't necessarily have the time to sit down and lay out a 5-10 year plan. It was just, hey, this is a great idea. I think I can get some sponsors. I had relationships already. I think I can get some support to go out and do this. And I just wanted to go out and tell stories. And so, goal one, to be able to pay my bills, was taken care of. And then from there, it was, well, let's grow this community. How can we get out and tell more stories? How can we shine more of a light on these people? And so it's really just been organic growth and people seeing what we're doing, the community growing. And now it's really, okay, what does the community want? And trying to figure out what they want is a lot of, surveying and talk to people. And, unfortunately, I get a lot of just keep doing what you're doing. Right.
Yeah.
And so I keep doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to grow. I've got a membership base with the network. That was kind of phase 2, I guess, of what I wanted to do with the network. So I have a small membership right now. And, the next focus is, how do I grow that membership? And what are the things that I can provide to our membership? That's more than just getting an email every week with our latest content. So, and now I think the next phase is to, figure out additional channels and figure out how I can not have to travel 200 nights a year to do all this. And so I'm starting to bring new creators in. We've got a podcast that recently created a loose partnership with Turf Today on Instagram. They've got 160 some thousand followers on Instagram, plus a podcast. So it was trying to, I had always thought about trying to break into the podcast space, but what can I do that's different? You found a nice little niche with the range here and diving into entrepreneurship with the golf space. There were already a bunch of superintendent podcasts. So, what was I going to do that was different? So fell into the Turf Today podcast, which was already the #1 superintendent podcast in that space, and partnered up with Adam Kershane, who's based out of Canada, and came in as a co-host and kind of helped Adam in that podcast evolve into something that's a little more professional. Bringing in some new guests that maybe they didn't have access to. I don't know if I really answered your question there, Ari, but the evolution, the growth of the Superintendent Network has really just been, there honestly hasn't been a ton of thought behind it.
Yeah.
In all honesty. And we went to the same school, so I can maybe joke about it. I'm not very smart. I went to a state school. So
my cousins who went to Michigan will appreciate you saying that.
It really has just been take opportunities as they come. And I've had a lot of opportunities present themselves. It's really started with me just traveling around, going where I want to go and telling the stories I want to tell, have opened doors to now I go to 8 to 10 PGA Tour and USGA events every year and tell behind the scenes stories while being embedded with the teams at those events. It's opened doors to doing renovation documentation. I've done Scioto, Muirfield Village, Colonial, Caves Valley. This year I've got, I think, 5 of them, including Seminole and Lakewood and Hyde Park and Detroit Golf Club. It's opened a lot of doors.
Yeah.
For me to go and tackle other things. And, it's just kind of drink from the fire hose until I can't drink anymore.
Well, it's, you said, act now, think later. And I think that's an interesting kind of motto and one that I think a lot of entrepreneurs share. because you just have to get out there and do before you kind of figure out what's working and what's not. As I thought about this interview and kind of how to classify who you are as a business person, obviously you're a community builder, you're a creator, you're an entrepreneur. Like, how do you see yourself, across those areas when it comes to business?
I've never quite thought about it, to be quite honest. That act now, think later can certainly get you into some trouble if you don't have a plan. I see myself simply as a connector. I think I'm that way in my personal life too. Quite honestly, I consider myself a bit of an introvert, but I do like to surround myself with people. I like bringing people together, and I like being in the room and sharing stories with people. And I like seeing people that I bring together go on and do their own things together too. So I think that's part of the whole storytelling thing that I do through the Superintendent Network. It's being able to introduce people. That's kind of what I see myself doing. That's what I see my business as, is introducing people to one another and helping others create other opportunities by sharing stories and by, again, kind of connecting people.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because, throughout this season of The Range, I hope to speak with a lot of community builders or connectors as well as creators. And, I think that, oftentimes entrepreneurship is connected to or related to a product or service oriented business, where with you and with other community builders or connectors, it's really about that connection and bringing together people that have a shared interest, and which I think is super interesting. Talk a little bit about your members and let's celebrate them. What do you enjoy most about servicing this group?
Telling stories, like you're saying, my product is the stories that I put together. So with our membership, I enjoy being able to share the content with them. I enjoy the opportunity to bring them together at events. Right now we just do one event a year that surround our national conference every year. The goal is to have more events spread out around the country and give them opportunities to come together, to learn, to network, and to really develop themselves. So that's what I enjoy most, is these men and women that become superintendents. They're all really good at growing grass. Someone graduates with whether it's a certificate, an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, whatever it is. They all understand how to take care of a plant. They all understand how to produce quality conditions on their golf course. But that's a very small percentage of what they do on a daily basis. It's about managing people. It's about managing politics and membership and daily players. That's really what they don't teach in turf school. And so that's why I focus so heavily on some of those intangibles and telling stories about leadership styles, about overcoming challenges, about dealing with people and things like that. So if I'm able to tell a good story about someone's leadership style, relating it to being an NFL or collegiate football coach or something like that, and just getting someone to think, oh yeah, I haven't really thought of it that way, and helping to give them some additional tools to grow as a leader. That's what I love. I love getting messages like, oh man, that was a great story. That was, it was so nice to be able to see him. I've heard so much about this person. It's great to be able to see them on camera. That's, we have a lot of great publications in our industry. There's a ton of great magazines, but when you're reading an article and reading a quote from somebody versus when you actually see that person, you hear their voice, you can sense the passion behind what they're saying. I think it just takes that message to a whole nother level. And that's the beauty of video.
Yeah.
And these stories is being able to actually see the passion, feel the passion behind what they're doing.
Let's actually touch on that a bit because, when you launched the network, like you mentioned, you could have gone more into text or a balance of text and video and audio. Why video? Why, you didn't have production experience before. Why was that so important to just continue to push out video content?
I mean, it's pretty simple. You look at the analytics, you look at all the studies, people would much rather watch a video than read an article. YouTube is probably the largest media provider out there, right? I mean, you've got millions upon millions of views on a daily basis. So it was just the way that our world was headed. And I, saw a niche. There were a couple other people doing some video. It's not like I reinvented the wheel in any way, shape, or form. But I just saw it as, well, no one else is really doing this. Mm-hmm. People are enjoying the stuff that I was already doing from an association standpoint. So why not grow it? Why not take it to the next level and fill a void within this space?
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. As you think about the growth of the network, how do you balance the community building aspect of it to the creator and just pushing out content aspect of it? Because those are two very separate things. I mean, they're obviously connected, but in terms of your time, how do you balance focusing on one or the other?
I don't. There's no such thing as balance in my life, unfortunately. Something I'm working towards. I think ultimately it's going to boil down to building a team. I've started that process right now. I've surrounded myself with a bunch of independent contractors that I have helping with content creation, that I have helping with community development. So I'm really just scratching the surface on that. Going back to the act now, think later. I wanted to start the membership. I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do with the membership, but I knew if I waited to have a perfect plan in place that I would never do it. And so I launched the membership, threw it out there. I've got a couple hundred members. It's nothing huge. And so I just went and I just did it. I think that's one of the things that can hold a lot of people back, is that they wait for something to be perfect until they do it, instead of jumping and fixing things along the way.
Yeah.
Or developing things along the way. So right now I am in that space where I'm constantly on the road creating, but I have a team member, Sally, who's actually the wife of one of my members, mm-hmm. who's helping manage the community, and right now cool. we're just starting small. Yeah. Just pushing regular content to our members, sending member gifts, just doing little things like that. But like I said, the ultimate goal is to bring that membership community together for various events and things like that. So I'll find the time to focus on the community. We've got plans in place to continue to grow that community. Right now, we're still in growth mindset. So let's push forward. Yeah. Let's throw things against the wall. Let's see what sticks. Let's see what doesn't. And let's continue to develop it. It might be, I don't know. It could be awesome, but it's like I said, let's get it. Let's start it. Yeah. And then let's grow it. And
I think that's the awesome part, is that you're just doing it, right? And you'll figure out whether what you're doing is awesome. And if not, you pivot, but otherwise you kind of continue to reinvest into it. Entrepreneurship at its core can be very isolating. Talk a little bit about your support network that allows you to travel 200 days a year, inspires you to kind of keep pushing and keep working on your dream. Because I do think, celebrating your support network is an important thing.
I have the most incredible support network. I like to joke with people and tell everyone that I'm on scholarship. My wife has a great job with great benefits, so it certainly allows me the opportunity to not have to worry about working for someone else to get those benefits or anything. But she's my rock. My wife, Lauren, is my rock. It was really difficult when I started traveling. It was very challenging for the both of us. Mm-hmm. It was a new marriage. My first marriage didn't work out. And so my wife and I, we got married in 2019. Our first full year of marriage was during the pandemic, which brought on its own challenges. And, once we finally settled in and got back to normal after that, I decided to start traveling the country. And so it was challenging. Yeah. But we have made it work. Between the two of us, we have 4 kids. And so she's taken on a brunt of what needs to happen here at home. But I just can't express enough how lucky I am to have her. Yeah. To have her support me 100% and let me chase my dreams. I'm quite frankly living my dream. I'm the luckiest person on earth. People, everyone thinks, oh, you're an entrepreneur, you've got your own business, you're loaded. Like every month, it's like, all right, how am I going to pay for all this travel? How am I going to do it? It's not cheap to travel the country and do this, and now pay people and all that kind of stuff. So, it's tough. And for her to let me go and chase my dreams and go to these amazing golf courses and visit these people all around the country, she's the greatest. And then
that's awesome.
The other side of it is my friends, the people, the superintendents. It's a relationship. It's a relationship business. That's what anytime I go and speak, whether it's to colleges or associations, I always try to, pound it into their heads. This is a relationship business. Yeah. You might think you're in the business of growing grass, but you're in the relationship business. It's the relationships with your peers, with your assistants, with your interns, whoever it is. When you go and you volunteer at a PGA Tour stop, you're going to meet 100 people there. Mm-hmm. And one person could make a difference in your career. They could be your next boss. They could be the guy that tells you, hey, there's an opening coming over here. So I always tell everyone it's a relationship business. And I've been very fortunate through my time in the associations, through growing up in the business, to have some really, really solid relationships in this industry, people that trust me to do things for them, to tell their stories, to bring me in to document their renovations, whatever it may be. These are the people that really launched the Superintendent Network for me. They supported me. They saw my vision. They saw my passion. They know my passion. They know I'm in it for them. You don't ever see me. Well, you rarely see me in any of my videos. I couldn't care less about being an influencer. Yeah. I want my stories to be the influence. I want people to see the passion that these men and women bring to this business, to their facilities every day. So yeah, my family, my friends have allowed me to grow this little community into what it is now, and have provided me with the opportunity to make this a job, sharing stories of this wonderful industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think, coming full circle, right? You talked about growing up and seeing your dad chase his dreams. As you and Lauren raise 4 children, how important is it to you that you are showing the next generation how to chase their dreams?
Yeah, it's very important. It's very important. My parents never pushed me in one direction, and so I'm trying to do the same with my kids. Mm-hmm. I'm letting them explore the things that they love. I've taken my kids on trips with me. They've seen what I do. It's funny. I've got a great picture of my youngest. He's 14 now. I took him to Bel Air for the I think it was the women's amateur a couple years ago. I've got a couple pictures of them because, it's the early mornings. We go out there when the team gets out there, and it's usually somewhere between 3 and 5 a.m. And so he was quickly introduced to getting 3 hours of sleep and then getting up and doing it all over again. So I've got a couple pictures of him passed out in carts, passed out with food on his plate at dinner and stuff like that. But it's cool to be able to show them what I do, show them that, if it's something they love, there's always going to be a way to ultimately monetize it and make a life out of it. My oldest son he gets all my hand-me-down cameras and lenses and stuff. So he's out doing photography for his high school.
Awesome. Yeah.
Taking pictures for their sports teams. He's working at Muir Village now. He thinks he wants to be a superintendent. So, I'm helping him and ultimately tell him, like, look, I can open some doors for you. I can help get your foot in the door, but ultimately it's what you do. You're going to make your own path. You're either going to make it or you're not, but it's all going to be based on your effort.
Yeah.
So they see the hours that I put in, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's hard work being an entrepreneur and doing your own thing. But hopefully they realize that, hopefully they realize what it takes to be successful at something, whether it's being in their own business, being an accountant, whatever they want to do.
Yeah. Well, I think you're showing them, that you need to put in the work. You need to have, a empathetic kind of personality in that, you're really celebrating other people. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Before I let you jump, in the first season, we did some rapid fire questions to give our audience kind of a sense of you outside of your day to day. So just a handful of questions, and then we'll let you go. Favorite course you've ever played?
I knew that question was coming. I get that question a lot. And what I tell people is that's like trying to pick your favorite child. We may all secretly have one, but I'm not going to say it publicly.
Fair enough.
But I will say the one that's the most sentimental for me is Saucon Valley. We have where I grew up, we had three golf courses there. I'd say Way Hill was probably my favorite of the three there. Spent a lot of time lugging a bag on my shoulders around those 18 holes there. It's just means a lot to me. It's a very special place.
Yeah. Probably unique to you when you talked about traveling so much, I am very interested. What's your favorite airport? And you can't say CMH.
CMH is great.
It is great. I agree.
Nice. My favorite airport is Providence.
Interesting.
Providence, by far. Can walk to the rental car facility. There's rarely ever a TSA line. Within 15, 20 minutes, I can be at my gate.
Yeah, some of those smaller airports are the best.
The best. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, getting back to golf, what's your favorite snack or drink on the course?
Snack or drink? Pretty simple. I like pretzels and peanut butter. I love places that have like a little bowl of pretzels with little cups of peanut butter. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Drink is pretty much whatever's handed to me. I mean, Mick Ultra, Transfusion, water, Gatorade, whatever. I mean, yeah. I certainly my buddies and I have been known to pack a few coolers of Mick Ultra at the clubhouse and enjoyed those.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most important lesson golf has taught you about business or entrepreneurship?
I love that question. I've listened to a couple of your episodes. I think it's recovery. Things aren't always going to go as planned. I was always a horrible iron player growing up. If I hit 6 or 8 greens around, that was a good day for me. So the ability to get up and down, the ability to recover when things don't go as planned, is incredibly important in golf and in business and in life.
Yeah, that's awesome. This is not necessarily a rapid fire question, but I do want to ask before you jump, because I think your connection to the sport is so interesting as we think about the evolution of the game. And you talked about playing a 3-hole loop when you were younger, and just different ways in for new golfers. I myself am a COVID golfer, so I'm pretty recent to the game. But talk a little bit about the evolution of the sport and its importance and interest from someone who's been connected to the sport their whole life.
I've had my own evolution in this game. I grew up as essentially a country club kid. I mean, my dad was the employee, so I always had that thought that I was just the kid of one of the employees. But I grew up at a country club. We had to wear pants. You couldn't wear shorts when I was growing up at Saucon. So I grew up with that mentality that golf is a polo shirt, khaki pants, you pull up to the valet, you pull up to the bag drop, you drop your clubs off and all that. And honestly, that was my perspective up until the last decade. I mean, that's what I thought golf was. And I'm so happy that it's changed, because with it loosening up and people having speakers on the carts, when they're playing, showing up in a t-shirt and shorts, show up as who you are.
Yeah.
And enjoy the game. That's the only way it's going to grow. And I think we talked a lot about media and digital media. I think with whether it's Barstool or No Laying Up, whatever those are, showing a more relaxed version of the game.
Yeah.
Is bringing a new person, a new type of person to the game, which is great.
Yeah.
There are still those clubs where you have to wear a jacket into the clubhouse, and that's great. That's them.
Yep.
But there are plenty of facilities that will take you as you are. And I think that's awesome. My favorite trend right now are the par 3 courses being built. You mentioned Pete Wilson. Love Pete. Love everyone out there at Grass Clippings, what they're doing with lighted golf, what they're doing with the Grass League, scramble competition that, really anyone can play in the scramble. These new things that are coming in to get people interested, to get them out on a golf course. Doesn't have to be an 18-hole round of golf. It can be at a Himalayas style putting green, where you grab a drink and just go putt around for an hour. whatever it may be. I love all these new ways that people are getting creative to bring people to this game. It's certainly going to help make it more sustainable down the road, in my opinion. Whatever we can do to just give people an opportunity to come out and play, I'm all about it.
You mentioned the apparel evolution. Did you see the other day the image or video of Justin Bieber on the tee box with a tank top and the baggiest of pants ever? I don't know if many clubs would allow that, but check it out, or I'll send you a link. It's funny.
My favorite was, what was it? Justin Thomas and Ricky and, Jordan and Bud Colley, I think maybe, when they did their spring break trips before they all went and got married and everything. And they're playing out on the golf course with no shirts, shorts. Uh-huh. They're rocking music, drinking beers, just having fun. I mean, that was probably the first time I'd ever seen a PGA Tour player showing themselves letting loose. Other than John Daly. We see John Daly let loose all the time. But
he's famous for that. Well, Brian, I appreciate the time. This was awesome. I think what you're doing for superintendents is fantastic. I think the content you're pushing out is interesting for those outside the network. So continued success, and really appreciate you spending time on the range.
Yeah, appreciate you reaching out again. It was an honor to come on and talk with you here for a little bit. Always great to speak with another Buckeye.
Absolutely. OH.
I love it. Yeah, look at that. Right. I got it back here too.
I know. I appreciate that. All right, Brian. Thanks, man.
All right. Take care.